Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another new vlog. Thank you for joining me once again. First of all, just to quickly let you know why I haven't been out vlogging in the last couple of weeks. Basically, at the end of spring and the start of the summertime, what I tend to find is that the available light becomes very harsh, very bright, very difficult to work with. So sometimes I just don't feel any kind of motivation to even pick up the camera and try and take some photos, and I don't feel like it's really worth my while trying to make a vlog just for the sake of making a vlog. I think that would be a little bit unfair on you guys and a little bit unfair on me to try and put the pressure on like that when there doesn't really seem much point. But in the meantime, I've been thinking about an area of Sutton Park which I've never ever explored before, and here it is. It's called Westwood Coppice, and it's a woodland right on the edge of the park, but it's on the far edge of the park from where I would normally go to. So I've come over here to see what's different over here. So keep watching and let's get into the vlog. It looks as though I might have found my first composition. I'll show you in just a moment properly, but just here I've got a couple of trees just here, and then further back there's a much darker kind of twisted and gnarly tree that kind of stands up right in the middle of them, and I think I'm going to shoot a portrait orientation shot of that. Like I say, I'll show you in just a moment exactly what the composition looks like when I've set it up. I'm probably about 150 yards away from the nearest car park and the gate into the park itself, and just over in this direction over here there's a main area of parkland, and it's all kind of grassy and heathland and whatever else, and there's a path that runs along the very edge of this woodland here, kind of going right along this edge here, all the way along. But I didn't want to hit that path because I think it would just be too busy. I think there'll be a lot of people walking up and down that path during the course of the morning. So what I've decided to do is actually come into the woodland and see if I can find some compositions here. And as you can see, I've got my first one already. So I'll show you this one next. So here is the shot right here. This tree and this tree with this kind of gnarly twisted tree up in the middle of it. I also think that just to the right of the image, just on the right hand side here, there are these two trees as well, which might even be incorporated into this shot. As I say, it is going to be a portrait orientation, so I'm thinking that this empty space on the left here may well be cropped out of the image, and then I can just use the main trees, these three here and possibly these two on the right hand side of the image, just to give it some balance. I don't know for sure yet, but I'm going to set up the shot and take it now. So here's the shot. I hope you like this one. I noticed something when I was trying to take that shot. It's very breezy today, so as I'm stopping to take a shot every now and then, there seems to be quite a strong breeze coming through the woodland, and what it means is that all of the leaves and the branches on the trees are dancing around like bears from the Happy Mondays. So what I've got to do with that is shoot with a very fast shutter speed, because it means I can really slow that movement down by doing that and stop that movement, and then you don't get blurry leaves in the images. But what that also means is that I'm having to open the aperture up very wide because the woodland is quite dark, so of course that means a very shallow depth of field, which in turn means I'm having to focus stack the images, take several different shots focusing on different areas of the images, and then combine all those in post-processing afterwards. So quite a few of these images today are probably going to be focus stacked images by the looks of things. Maybe one or two using the HDR method where I bracket the exposures, provided there's no breeze at the time I'm taking the shot. So I'm going to move on and see if I can find another composition now, but I think there's going to be loads in this woodland, to be quite honest. I found another composition behind me which looks quite interesting, and I might not need to focus stack on this one because I may be able to really shut my aperture down to quite a small aperture. There's quite a bit of light coming through here just at this point, but what I'm looking at is these tree roots here, these here, the ones behind, and then a little bit further back there's another tree with less of a root system on show, but it still looks a little bit gnarly and interesting. And I'm wondering if I can make something of those three trees there, and also possibly bringing another tree into it as well, probably that tree there just behind, so you'll get that, and that. I'm not sure how well it works. I quite like it, but it means getting in kind of close to these main root systems here, and then kind of cutting everything off around it. So I'll give that one a try and I'll show you the image now. I did in the end actually choose to focus stack that image. I was shooting with an f/16 aperture, so the depth of field was quite large, but even so what I noticed was that quite near the front of the image, kind of in the bottom right hand third, there was also another little bit of root from another tree right next to me, and the root itself was about 6 or 7 feet in front of me, and it just made a nice foreground interest to lead you towards the other trees. But obviously because that was still sort of 10 or 12 feet ahead of the principal tree, it meant that there was a little bit of soft focus on the first main tree when you finally get your eye to it. So I had to focus stack, and again it's been about 3 or 4 focus areas where I've picked up each of the 3 principal trees and that little bit of root system in the front, and hopefully that looks quite good. But obviously again it's one of those situations where I hadn't thought that I was going to capture anything like that today, so it looks like quite an interesting shot. I'm going to move on and see if I can find anything else now. One of the downsides, of course, to choosing a new location that you've never been to before and not knowing the route that you're taking, is that sometimes you end up having to do a few little detours. Like I've just had to do a couple of interesting ones. The first one, I had to take a detour off the path, because right slap bang in the middle of the path I discovered quicksand. I didn't really want to go plums deep in that, to be quite honest with you, so I had to walk off the path slightly to avoid that. But then as I carried on, I thought the path carried on, and it really only went about another 20 or 30 yards and then came to a dead end, so I had to turn back and find another way around. So that was quite interesting as well. But look at the state of the sky now. At one point this morning it was a little bit sunny. The sun may still come out in a little while, I think, but as it is, there's quite a lot of cloud around at the moment, and I've just walked out into the open, out of the woodland, and I don't really know what to expect from this point onwards, but I'm going to push on anyway and see what else I can capture. I think this is quite an interesting one. I've got here a lone tree on its own in what appears to be a massive field of heathland, and I think just standing on the path here from this distance there's quite an interesting composition with this tree. And now in the background, just here, right at the edge of the tree, right in the far distant background, there's a bit of a cutting with another tree all on its own in the middle of that cutting. And obviously that's going to be slightly out of focus when I take this shot, because my focus is going to be on the main tree here. But I quite like it with all this heathland around it and that little bit of a cutting just at the very far back of the image. That kind of makes it quite interesting, because you're drawn to the tree in the first instance, but then you're wondering what's further on behind the tree because of that little cutting at the back. And obviously this huge bank of cloud here is quite interesting as well, but again it's going to have to be a very, very quick shutter speed because of the breeze that's blowing through here. Every now and then the breeze dies down a little bit, and if I time it just right I might be able to get a decent shot of this. So I'm going to have a go at this one and I'll show you the image now. Well, that was quite interesting and a little scary, I might add. After I'd taken that picture of that lone tree, I decided that I was going to cut across the middle of the park. There was a path quite close to where the lone tree was, which cuts across to the Jamboree Stone, which is somewhere I've been before. And I simply decided to take that path and head towards the Jamboree Stone. Looking at it now, I'm not so sure if it is the right path, but anyway, it runs through the middle of the park. And as I was walking along in the open, all of a sudden, just at the side of the path, I discovered another little bit of woodland, only a very, very small area, probably about 50 yards square. So I decided to stop in there and take a photo. As I actually got into that very small woodland, I discovered what appears to be a kind of concrete trench, just a couple of concrete walls about 30 yards long, running parallel to one another, about 8 feet apart, and I couldn't really help myself, but I had to stop and take that photo. It's quite an interesting one. I've got no idea what it's all about, and obviously that's a path that I've never walked across before, just because I'd started my journey today in a woodland that I've never been into before. So getting to the end of that woodland and then heading across another path meant that the next path that I walked along was also somewhere I hadn't been. So I've no idea what the concrete trench was all about, but I stopped and took a couple of photos of it anyway. I think I've just about worked out where I am now. This path behind me leads to the Jamboree Stone somewhere down here. Now, in the past I have walked up from the Jamboree Stone up this path in this kind of general direction, but never quite got as far as this. So now it looks as though I'm back on the right path to get to where I want to be. But I have noticed that I'm coming back into another bit of woodland that I don't think I've ever been in before. So maybe, just maybe, there's another chance of a shot here as well. Let's go and find out. So I think I'm going to make this my last shot of the day, for two reasons really. One, it's pretty much lunchtime and I want to pop over here about 100 yards away and go and see the ice cream van, because obviously I need to get my fill of ice cream. But also, as I've walked around this little bit of woodland here behind me, I've noticed there are several piles of cow shit. Now obviously I don't want to stand in them, but one of them is also a little bit fresh, to be honest with you, and I think that means that Mabel and all her mates must be around here somewhere, and I don't want to get caught out by them, like, really, do I? So I've already taken this shot. Basically just behind me what I've got is this little copse of coniferous trees, and just at the front here there's several branches all sticking out right very low down, which make quite an interesting composition, and they sort of fill the top of the frame, and then underneath you can just see the base of all the trees just there. So I've taken a shot that captures that. Like I say, it's the branches that come out with all the pines on them, and they're filling the top of the frame, and then I've got the trees underneath, which it's the trees themselves that I'm focused on. But it's quite an interesting shot, so I hope you like that. Like I say, I'm going to go and get an ice cream now. If you've enjoyed today's vlog, then please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on another vlog very soon. Bye for now.